customer access portal. And Aaron was kind of touching on this earlier, is that you don't necessarily have to just use VISCO for your internal users. You can start having external users or third parties access the system as well in a limited way. So, like Tori, for example, you guys already do this with your vendors, access the system, but I think they only access just like one screen, right? Where they can...
They'll do their quote mapping and they'll enter their products and their information. That's really what they do.
Product specs, basically, pricing, that kind of thing. An image, I think, do they upload images too?
Some do, yeah.
You can upload images. So that's a good use, but you can also, if you want to have your customers access the system too. So the way this works is, just so you understand, you don't have to buy a new user for every single customer. I think that might scare people away sometimes. That's not the case. It's the way the pricing works is you pay for one user, and then you can have an unlimited number of customers. Or if you want to do vendors, you pay for one user for vendors, and then you can have an unlimited number of vendors. Each one will get their own user ID and password. And when they log in, they're only seeing the orders, or they're only seeing the information that's specific to them. This should be obvious, but they're not seeing other, if it's a vendor logging in, they're not seeing other vendors' pricing, things like that. So I'm actually going to pull up what we call the customer access portal. This is something custom that we did for someone else, but it's I think universal enough that if others wanted to use it, you're certainly welcome to. So this particular customer, they're in the food business, and they're oh, I see what I did here. I have to log in again. So they gave each one of their customers, or at least each one of their major customers, they gave their own user ID and password to, and they can log in and check on the status of their orders. Now in their case, they drop ship, or they ship direct everything to their customers. So they're able to pull up all the purchasing side information as well. Not pricing, but the status of the container and so on, because everything's been pre-allocated. So that would be, the customers would need to sign in, so they would sign in with their user ID and password. They wouldn't come to the home page though. They go directly into this report. It's the only screen they have access to. And this is called Customer Access Portal. So they would come in to a pre-filtered version of this report that only has their info on it. So first column is the customer PO number. So if they want to search by a PO, their own PO, and they wanted to see what the status of a particular PO is, they can, just by using the normal VISCO scan search. They can search by PO. The SO number is obviously, would be your sales order number. So if they want to search by that, they can as well. The venture number, that doesn't necessarily mean anything to them, I don't think, but it's accessible in case you want to see that. Of course, the venture number is on the purchase side. The status, so this is actually venture status. Now they've changed around what they call the statuses. They're a little bit different than normal VISCO terminology because they wanted to give the status something more meaningful to the customer. So in their case, they used to be shipped, which is the equivalent in VISCO of PO issued. So those are any POs that the supplier hasn't actually shipped yet. The ones that are in transit, VISCO in transit, they just changed around the terminology to be on the water. They thought it would make more sense to the customer. And then delivered. So if the customer wanted to come in and they wanted to search a history of all their deliveries, they could do that too. Or they could just filter out only show me things that haven't been delivered yet, if they just want to see the active transactions. Now, as I was saying before, they're in the food business, so they included this additional status, which they call FDA status. So sometimes their containers go on FDA hold. So they wanted the customer to see that, if that was the case. And then custom status, which is just a custom field that we added in the container. We've done it for other people as well, where if you have a container that's being held for being held in customs for inspection, you can indicate that as well. Now, in this case, it's actually one row per product. It's not one row per container. So if they wanted to search, if there's multiple products being shipped in a container, they could search by product ID as well. The voyage number is the voyage number the way it exists in VISCO. You have the actual ETA, which is the container ETA, when the customer can expect the container to arrive. The order date, which is the original set date that the sales order was placed. Now, So it's sort of taking a combination of sales order information and purchase order information, but putting it in a way that makes sense to the customer. So that's the order date. This would be any of the lot numbers that are associated with that venture would appear there. Now the requested shipping date and the requested delivery date is pulling from sales order ETA and sales order ETD. Now, again, not everyone here uses those fields, but these are when the customer requested delivery and when the customer requested the product to ship. That will be the container number, the BL number, the BL date, vessel name. Here's this link to marine traffic is here too. So this would be if the customer wanted to see specifically where this container is, they could click on the marine traffic link, and it pulls up that vessel in marine traffic. In this case, it's not in. I looked at this one before, and it was in there. But that one says it's not in range, so maybe that container's already arrived. Let's try this one. So this would be. This shows you essentially where this vessel is, specifically map coordinates. I think you can actually see it on the map too. We were looking at that yesterday. But it gives a more specific sense to specifically where that container is. They wanted to see that as well. And then in their case, they uploaded pictures of the image. So it's pulling from the product section, the documents and images. There's an image of the product. In their case, they also upload container loading pictures. So when the container gets loaded, they require that their supplier send them a picture of the container with the doors open but loaded, which they upload and attach to the container, and then that's available for them to look at as well as the customers. If the customers want to come and see a picture of the container. They also have, in their case, links into, so for orders that have already been shipped, there's a link into the invoice. So if they wanted to just reference the invoice document, there's a link there into the invoice document. And also any comments from within the container. If they just want to pass comments on to the customer as well, they can see that. So kind of a nice all-encompassing way just to give customers access into the system. And without having to, if you can think about it, to put this information together yourself to send out to the customers, it would be kind of a lot of work. So I thought it would be good for others to see. And then, of course, you can export this out to Excel like you can anything in VISCO. If the customer want to export it to Excel and save it, they could do that too.
Security issues where customers coming into VISCO, is there anything to worry about?
Well, I mean, this is why I'd say you want to make your usernames and passwords something that they couldn't figure out what other customers' usernames and passwords might be, because now these customers getting their own user ID and password, and it's pre-filtering the list, so they're only seeing their information. But I suppose a customer could poke around and try other company names, and you know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of thing.
And what about dragging viruses into the system?
No more relevant than it would be for your internal users.
Right.
I mean, they have RAM is not web-based right now. They don't have external access that I know of. How are you accessing externally the system right now? You like remote into your machine, or?
Yeah, we remote through our own cloud.
Okay. So that there's there would be an opening of an additional layer in your instance, particularly, where you're basically allowing web access to a server that didn't previously have it.
Right.
But that's something that 75% of people in this room already are comfortable with and know about. Is making the system accessible through the web, which yours isn't.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is there's additional piece of software that we recommend buying if you do this, which is what's called an SSL certificate. So it encrypts any data going in and out of the server.